Wonderful. Hi everyone, I'm Beu Smith. Like Mike said, I'm the Senior SEO Strategist at 43 Clicks North. First off, I just want to thank you all for coming down. If you didn't turn up, I would be speaking to an empty room, and that would be kind of boring and not very productive. So just thanks for coming out, and I hope we have a good day. So I want to talk to you today about how to leverage AI in content production in a way that avoids penalties and basically makes you feel confident that you're doing it in a way that's not going to bring on negative performance. So before I do that, I kind of want to get a little gauge for the room. So I am going to ask you a question, and it does require audience participation. It's very simple, just a raise of a hand. So, does Google support AI content? If it does, if you feel like it does, can you raise your hand for me? All right. And raise your hand if you don't think it supports content. Perfect. And quite a lot of you didn't put your hand up, which means you either don't know or you just don't want to tell me, which is fine. So by the end of this talk, you should be able to confidently answer this question and be able to demonstrate, hopefully, some strategies you can implement to benefit from AI content without, obviously, fear of penalty. So to answer the question, does Google support AI content? Yes. Off the bat, it does support it. So let's have a look into it. I've got a quote here from Google's AI-generated guidelines that are obviously online. You can go read them yourself. And I think this sentence here sums it up pretty much perfectly. So Google rewards AI content so long as it is high quality, displays trust, and is useful to the target audience. Quite a lot of jargon here. High quality, trust, useful, target audience. Do we know what these means? Is that clear? No. But the main message is that yes, it does reward it, providing it meets the criteria. Something else that Google has done is it started to update its updates. So in September 2023, the helpful content update was updated. The main thing, or the main notice that we took from this, was the tone of voice. So you'll notice here highlighted in this passage, before September, it was content written by people, for people. This was amended to content created for people. So what Google's saying here is it doesn't really care too much on how content is produced, so much so that the end product is great for the user, well thought out, full of trust, and basically not misleading. So what does this all mean? I'm just saying words. I'm just repeating stuff from Google. I want to try and give you something tangible. What can you take away from this? Makes you understand it so that you can actually utilize this yourselves. So let's break it down. Throughout that guide, I've pulled out a few more quotes, and just next to these quotes, I'm just highlighting what in effect Google's nuancing, what it's referencing to here. So when it says appropriate use of AI or automation is not against our guidelines, the keyword here is appropriate. You can use AI within that process as long as you're not trying to mislead search, gain from profit, and basically making sure that you are within their core ranking guidelines. So when it says this, it's content for users, not for ranking, and this is relating to the spam updates and the Google core updates. The second one, automation has long been used to generate helpful content to help people create great content for the web. This is in reference to things like their helpful content update. So basically making sure you are providing accurate, up-to-date, and relevant information to the end user. And the last bit here is rewarding high-quality content however it's produced. So again, this reverts back to EEAT, which, if you're not aware of the acronym, is expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Basically, this is just about knowing your onions. If you're going to talk about something, make sure it relates to your brand, make sure you've got experience in it, and if you do, evidence that through your content. Showcase why you know about it and why you should be able to speak authoritatively on the subject matter. So, a little summary, a little overview of what we've just learned so far. So Google does reward content providing it meets its guidelines. You have to use content and SEO to get rewarded. So by this, what I mean is that SEO creates the foundation and sends the right signals, and content is your visibility and growth. So you can have a website that is full of gaps, rubbish signals, no foundation. If you put fantastic content on that, it will never, ever be in position 1 or rank well because it's got no foundation. And vice versa. You could have a fantastic foundation, great signals, but if your content's rubbish, what's the point? You're not going to be in position 1. So the two are simultaneous. And lastly, the use of AI is a tool within a process. So you're not just going on a tool like Chat GPT, Bing, Bard, whatever. You're not just exporting some copy that you've prompted, pasting it on your website, and bada bing, bada boom, you're in position 1. It's a process, so it's a part of a whole. So this is where we deploy strategies. I'm going to give you some points on content and SEO, on how you can incorporate AI that hopefully you can use yourself without any fear that you're going to get penalized. So, content is your visibility and your growth. Before we talk about content production, I think it's important to understand how content is produced. So for a while now, there's been something called the Content Trifecta. In effect, this is an equation for input and output to simplify the variables that create good content. So the idea here is that 2 should always be true and 1 therefore is false. The way I like to think about it is sort of 2 are high, 1 is low. So that, bugger. Terrible with my hands, I am, I'm sorry. It's not gone on anything electrical though, so we should be all right. So the idea being is that you always want quality. Quality always wants to be high. So that means if the quality output always wants to be high and you have a high budget, you will therefore have low time. Vice versa, if you want high quality and you want it in low time, obviously the budget is going to be high. Equally, if the time is if the time is high, then the budget is therefore low. So let's apply this to how humans write content. So human written content always needs to be quality. To ensure this quality, it means that you need the quality either plus low cost, which that will equate to a high weight, which is the time. Or like I say, it's the other way around. So the quality plus low time, which is high cost and budget. So if we start applying this to how we know the realms of AI working, AI or most AI tools are either free or very cheap to run, which is your cost. AI is very fast at executing tasks, so that means time. So what this does is it brings into the quality of the content is therefore in question. So when using AI tools, it's always the quality that you need to be looking at because it already does the other 2 tasks very quickly. Just to clarify for anyone who can't see, when I'm referring to quality, this is the content's ability to rank and perform within search. So I've put together a little 4-step process of what I think is the best things to sort of look out for. So the first thing you want to do is to find the right tool. Now at 43, one of our clients, we've actually been utilizing some AI content production. The client itself has a lot of localized pages all over the country, and it's way more pages than we can actually manually write because they're location specific. So this means they need to be aware of the amenities, local towns, where it's geographically placed. So it takes a lot of time to actually write the good content because you physically have to go research it. So what we did is we found a couple of tools that we really liked and we started to test, how does this prompt work? What's the output? Is it listening to us when we're saying what the character limit is? Is it actually creating genuinely true information, or is it just having a pop and thinking it'll do? So once you find a tool that you think is actually creating the right or the best version of like an output text, this is where you then want to refer to point 2. Quality over quantity. AI is very good at mass producing content. So that means there's a potential for the market to become oversaturated. Currently, a little fast stat for you is that 4.4 million blog posts are uploaded to the internet every day. Don't take quick maths to figure out that's a lot. So if a lot is being added, what makes yours stand out? Being a higher quality, basically being the best version it can. So to summarize it nicely, it's better to create low amounts of high value content that's engaging and relevant to your audience over lots of thin, low value content. So by this I mean, yes, AI can make you write 3,000 articles a year, but it would be much better to create 30 top quality, well thought out, holistic pieces of content that have a target audience in mind and are really, really like fleshed out. The third point is anti-spam. So 2022, Google went mad for anti-spam, basically saying if you're trying to manipulate or deceive users for profit or gain, you are going to be given a manual action and your performance will go down. So when using AI, think of it as like a starting block. It's not something that is the be-all and end-all to do everything. It's just there to basically give you a block of concrete to sculpt into whatever content is you're going to create. So don't abuse it for spam, and don't try and write about topics that basically you're not that well thought out on. And lastly, use the principles of EEAT again. So this is referring back to expertise, experience, authority, and trustworthiness. So make sure what content you're producing does relate to your brand. If you're talking about it, make sure that it is something that you have at least experience or authority to sort of talk on. And if not, find someone you can use in the article that has that gives it more weight. So this is where you can get guest writers, guest posts, bring that sort of external expertise in and cite it within your content. So now we know the do's, let's have a look at some of the don'ts. So my top don't is don't write to rank. And it's just simple as basically the opposite of what I've just said. Just stick within your wheelhouse. Don't try and rank for something because it's got a high search volume. Don't try and talk on it because you've seen a competitor do it. If it doesn't relate to you, it's not something that your audience is going to relate to, and it's not something you can actually leverage, it's pointless. Like, it might have the best search volume in the world. If you're in position 1, you might get the most traffic ever, but if you're selling one thing and talking about another, you're just not going to perform on Google. It's not how the search engine works anymore. Don't get lazy. So always read and double check any content written by AI for false facts, wrong links, or incorrect information. AI is in effect just like a search engine. It goes off, it scrapes all the content that it can find, it indexes it within a database, and then it uses transformer models and all the other mad AI technology to cross-reference what you've prompted and searched with what a database has, best match that result. Doesn't mean anything that it's actually retained and then regurgitated is of true, accurate value. So when you get the piece, like I say, don't trust it, double check it, and just make sure that it's all true. The third point is to not trust AI. So my point here is that manual input, reviews, and mediation will always be needed to get content that will actually rank in position 1. What I mean by this is it takes multiple edits. It takes, writing it, reviewing it, potentially getting other people to provide their input, maybe input from the client or the brand that you're working on. It would be foolish to think that, this free tool could just plop out content in 3 seconds and that's going to get you in position 1 versus all the other people that are trying. So always review, mediate, and just make sure that you're checking your work. And lastly, just don't go with the flow. So if you are doing some competitor research, you are looking at articles that are performing above you, and maybe you notice there's a common theme, the length, the layout. Don't take that as a principle that you have to also use that sort of that blueprint for what the article looks like. Think to yourself, is there a better way that I could maybe present that information? What would my audience actually benefit from? Like, is there a more concise way I can do this that is better? So sometimes it is going to be, the structure needs to be the same, but just the food for thought, it doesn't always have to be, and you can sometimes be the exception that then, gets the performance that they're after. So, content is the main thing, but like with everything within my channel SEO, it's all underpinned by sort of technical factors. So while we're here, I just want to quickly sort of go over the guidelines and ranking factors. I could speak about this as a whole presentation within itself, but I don't think anyone really wants that, do they? It's quite a dry topic, so I'll just keep this one really clean, really simple. Every time Google is referring to AI and not basically violating its systems, these are the 3 systems or ranking updates or search factors, whatever you want to call them, that it's talking about. The helpful content update, which, to give you a little snippet, is a ranking system to better ensure people see original helpful content created for people in search. When you're making content, basically make sure your end user is the goal in mind and that what you're creating will provide value. Spam, don't try to manipulate search for profit or gain. Basically, make sure that your content is genuine. If you're writing it to help people, make sure it actually helps people and it's not tricking them into buying a product that doesn't actually do anything. And the last one is just the core updates. So, you might be aware of these, you might not follow them, but Google periodically releases core updates throughout the year. These are just designed to tweak and maintain their core system that protects search and basically keeps it up to date with all the guidelines, new technologies, and everything like that. So the SEO funnel for AI content, what does that look like? What are the do's? So the first thing for me is always health and maintenance. So making sure that the fundamental basics are in place on your site. So there's no harmful signals being created. Harmful signals are things like duplication, redirection, or indexing issues. This was what I was talking about earlier when I said you can have the best content, but if your site's a mess, it won't perform. So if you're creating bad signals for your site, or people can't use it, Google can't crawl it, any of these things, it's really going to hinder your performance. So make sure your ducks are in a row before you go start dressing them up. Number 2, site structure and URLs. So something I'm seeing quite commonly at the moment is a lot of clients or a lot of websites that I'm auditing or looking at, people aren't aware too much of the actual structure of the site. And I'm finding a lot of content is being orphaned off. And by that I mean it can't be found via the crawler, it's picked up by a sitemap or something like that, because the URL structure is different to get to it from what the actual URL is. So it's the basic principle here is to just look at the site structure. So look at your hierarchy, your subfolder names, your content categories, your hub pages, your breadcrumbs. These should all match up. These should all align. It should make sense. It should be readable. It's very sort of obvious stuff, but it flies under the radar because I don't think a lot of people are fully clued up on it. So just check these, make sure they're all working. If they're not, then there'll be I'm sure there'll be a little article somewhere that'll tell you how to fix it. Page speed is often a common factor. In 2022, it was made a ranking factor now. So you've got things like Core Web Vitals within your Search Console report, Page Speed Insights. You've got so many different metrics and tools to figure out. My main point here is that you can create the best content. You can have the best sort of site from a health and maintenance point of view. But if it's slow, if it's not responsive, if it's not user-friendly, so UX optimized, then it's not going to perform in position 1 because there will be another client or another website that will have as good content but better page speed. And if Google's obviously looking at all these factors and doing a comparison, they're going to be weighted higher than you, so therefore they'll be rewarded better performance. And lastly, this is just kind of the wrapping and the bow on the present, if I'm honest. On-page optimizations. Most of the time, again, this is overlooked. So looking at your heading tags, so your semantics. Have you got the keyword featured in your H1? Is your H1 tag actually got anything in it? You know, do the H2s, are they a subcategory of your H1? Are you making this information very visible and very clear and almost so that the user doesn't have to think? They just hit the page and they know what their job is to do. Is it to buy something? Is it to complete a form? Is it to, I don't know, add something to a basket? Whatever your brand is, you know, just make it abundantly clear that that is almost the only thing that the user can do. Cool. So just want to quickly talk about a few SEO don'ts for the AI process. Obviously the first one, don't be doing any black hat. AI can stuff keywords into copy and definitely oversaturate sort of different sections. So when you are exporting it, review this. You might have to manually edit it, maybe amend it out or take it, but don't leave the copy as it is. Review it yourself a little bit. Do not rely on AI. By this, I mean keep your tools sharp. So, for example, if AI starts to do something that you already do, I'm not saying don't use that and don't take that as a way to potentially gain some more productivity or freer time. But maybe once a week, once a month, make sure you do it just so that you know how to do it. Because let's say the tools go away or you're in a situation where you need to, it's always handy just to be reliant on your own skills. Don't replace your brain. A computer can't analyze like you. I've put for now, but let's just focus on the first bit. So when I'm strategizing, I really like to try and dig into all the data points. I'll figure out everything about the site. I'll speak in depth with my clients. I'll understand their business needs, what's their priorities, what's going to bring the most value for them. In doing that, I'll then look at the industry, the website, the context around it all, the budget that's allowed, what do we actually have in terms of levers we can pull. And doing all this allows me to go, this will create the best value. Now, AI can't quite do that yet, and it probably will do it very soon, but rely on yourself, use these as tools to aid you, not to direct you, use it as something as that's another bit of information I can factor in, not AI said that, I'll scrap all I know and just go for this. And lastly, don't use it to strategize. Quite a few platforms now are adding in AI tools that can, review all the data that you've got in the platform, and then it can spit out some sort of unknown strategy to you. It can find you the thing you've been looking for that you just couldn't get prior. For me, that's not the case now. And again, I would apply the same principle. It's great to get that insight. It's great to factor that in. But don't let the sort of new shiny AI thing be the be-all and end-all and make that be your decision maker. You still should use your own initiative and I guess your core gut feeling to make the right decision. So, what is the AI process and how do we stop it from digging our jibs? If you're a South Park fan, that will have landed. So this is my 6-step AI creation process. It is an overview, and I'm just going to run through it with you now. So the first thing for me is site health and good signals. Like I said, it's pointless building on top of a foundation that's full of holes and gaps. So make sure that you've got all your basic features. It's crawlable. It's got foundational features like robots text, sitemaps. It's indexable. There's no redirects. There's no duplication. Everything is looking good. The second bit is the content production. So this is what Google was on about. It's not bothered whether humans are writing the content, whether you're using AI fully, whether it's starting on AI and then humans are doing it. It doesn't matter. So long as you are using it in part of this process, you won't be penalized. So try out different tools. Test GPT, test Claude, test Bard, test Bing Chat, whatever it is you want. Test a bunch of them, see what outputs are, test with prompts. It feels like it's monotonous and it's not really worth it, but spend that bit of time trying your prompts and getting that basis, because if you get a good basis to work from, it'll massively improve your speed and your actual production from it. Thirdly, after you've got the content, make sure it sits within these guidelines. So that's your helpful content update, your spam and your core updates. So do the time to research the relevant topic that will match your user's intent. Don't cut corners, that's black hat, and make sure to demonstrate your value through EEAT. After that, we go into the structure. So just make sure that the pages that you're putting it on, all these are accessible, crawlable. You've got accurate breadcrumbs. It's something that is clickable and easy to find on your website. The speed, very simply, the biggest problem I see here with speed is images. So people love to upload PNG files or JPEG files to their website, which are like 40 megabytes and take about 16 years to basically go and fetch from the server. You can use next-gen formats. So WebP, that's Google's preferred, JPEG XR, JPEG 2000. These retain the same image quality, but reduce the file size down massively. So this means you can go fetch the data and render it much quicker, which means you meet your core web vitals, your users get your content quicker. It impacts user metrics like time spent on page and bounce rate. So it has all these profound knock-on effects, but it's often overlooked. So if your page is struggling, go have a look at your images. Is your YouTube video embedded, or have you actually stored it on your page, and is that sucking up 15 seconds of page load time? Have a little look, see what you can do. It's only going to have a positive benefit. And then lastly, like I said, the on-page optimizations. So just have a quick check. Are your H1 tags, H2 tags, do they have text in the field? Is there heading tags down the page? Do you mention your core keywords within them? Is there image alt tags? Is there an opportunity to add any structured data on the page? All these things can help. So, like I said, by the end of this, I wanted you all to feel confident you could answer a question, does Google support AI content? So, one more time, if you think Google supports AI content, raise your hand, please. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Wonderful. So AI can be used in part of a process, but that's the key thing. It is not a be-all, end-all. It's not a golden bullet. It is a step within a process, and if you use it with these factors around it, it will ensure that your content will be fantastic, it'll be well rewarded, and you won't get any penalties. Thank you very much. If you would like to speak to me afterwards, come say hi, but I've been Beu. I've enjoyed that. Cheers.